Well, I want to welcome you all to the PCGSA November meeting. We're going to get to know a little bit about statistics from a very prominent statistics teacher here on campus, Dr. Katy Denson. She got her BS in elementary ed and special education from UT. Then she got her Master's of Education on Vocational Education at A&M in College Station. Then she proceeded on to get her Doctorate of Philosophy in Educational Research from UNT. She has taught here from 2002 to present. She's an adjunct professor here at TMUC Commerce. She teaches doctoral level statistics, undergraduates, and graduate level educational psychology courses also. Many of you have taken or will be fortunate enough to take her for her statistics courses. Let me tell you, they're amazing. You learn a lot from her. Even if you're not a math buff, I'm not. And she also works at the Office of Research as a statistical advisor. So please make Miss Katy Denson feel welcome. And I'm going to throw it to you.
Now they told me I could stay seated.
Yes. Yeah.
To be informal, so I'm going to.
Hi.
So, how did you find out all that?
Google.
Oh my gosh.
So
It's kind of scary to think.
on the school website too.
Okay, all right. Well, all that's true, yes. So I have been teaching statistics here at Commerce since 2002. That was my first, the summer of 2002. Those were my first courses. And I was so afraid to teach statistics. But it has really, there's a saying that if you don't know how to do it, teach it. And then you'll. So that's definitely helped me over the years to work with students. And I've learned a lot. And now, this past year, I am in the Office of Research, and I'm the statistics advisor for the College of Education and Human Services. So if you're not familiar with those services, I'll talk just a little bit about that also, and I have some cards for you. So when Dr. Kruger asked me if I would do this, I said, "What do you want me to talk about?" And I said, "You mean like places you can look or websites or whatever?" And she said, "Yeah, just whatever." So okay, so I put together a list of books and resources that I go to a lot, and I asked some other people about some things that they do. So that I thought I would just go over some of those, and then if you all had any specific questions, does that sound okay? So I'm just going to pass these around and let you have a look at that, and I'll talk about some of them. There are a ton of statistics books out there. So, like if you go to Amazon or whatever and you look for books about statistics, I mean, everybody and their dog has one. And most of them are pretty dull and dry and difficult to read. A lot of them are very math oriented, which I am not a math person at all. I've learned more math since I figured out more things about statistics, but when I went into it, I hated math, and I still don't really enjoy it. So the textbook that someone referred me to, and I use it in my course, is the first one that I have listed here, Discovering Statistics Using IBM SPSS Statistics, with Andy Field as the author. And he is still a statistics professor in some college in England, and he writes in a very it's not cut and dried. He tries to be amusing, and he is amusing, and sometimes I'm like, okay, that's enough, Andy, but the examples are clear and they're understandable, and the book is pretty easy to follow. And not only does he take you through the theory of each concept that he's talking about, but he also tells you how to do it on SPSS. I don't particularly like his SPSS sections. For me, it's not enough. They're not specific enough. They don't list it out step by step. And so I go to some other sources when I need to see how to do it on SPSS. But just in general, it's a really good book. You know, it's costly. It's $100 or so, but you can use it. I mean, you can use it through lots of different stuff. I mean, it has the basics all the way through things that we certainly don't even teach in the intermediate course that you might do in your multivariate course if you just need. That's not the book that they use, but it would just give you another source. So that's a really good book, I think. The next two, they are really not even published anymore, but you can still find them on Amazon. They're by James Stevens, and one is his intermediate statistics, and the next one is his applied multivariate statistics. And so you see that, you know, that first one was, the last time it was published was 7 years ago. But I really like the way he explains things. It makes sense. He gets into the math stuff, but you can sort of skip over that if you're not math-minded. You don't really have to. My mentor a long time ago when I was in school, she told me, you know, I was pretty frantic because I'd read journal articles and I'd see this symbol that's like an F with a line through it, and I said, I don't even know what that means. And she said, well, that's function. And I said, well, what's a function? And, you know, I never took calculus, so you don't have to know math. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to know math to be able to run your data and do a good job at it. So anyway, you know, she said you don't have to be good at that. Later, when you have more experience, those things will make more sense to you. They do maybe a little bit. So Stevens, in both of these books, they're technical, maybe a little more technical than Andy's book, but they're very clear when you sort of march through them. It makes sense, the things that he says. The multivariate, the one that I have listed for the fourth one there, using multivariate statistics by Tabachnik and Fidel, that is absolutely the authority on multivariate statistics. And that's the book that I know Dr. Carlson used, at least the last semester that she taught multivariate. And I think that's the one she likes. That's like the Bible of multivariate statistics. It's hard. It's hard to read it. I mean, a lot of times when I'm in that book, I have to read out loud, you know, to hear myself and then to see it, and I have to stop and think, and I have to go back. But it is really like the authority. So if there's something that you're doing that involves a multivariate kind of analysis, that's really the book to go to. It's a great book. Just books about statistics. Do you have questions about any of those? And of course, if there's one particular thing that you're interested in, like multi-level modeling or structural equation modeling, you know, some of the more advanced statistical techniques, there are a lot of books that are out there that are available on lots of different things. If there's one particular thing you're interested in that you think you want to do for your thesis or your dissertation, I'm happy to try to refer you to a specific book if you're looking for something that's more than just the global general statistics stuff. Books about SPSS. There are two that I really like a lot. I don't use them anymore, but the first and the second one that I have listed here, the SPSS for introductory statistics and for intermediate statistics. I used to use those in my classes, and all my students really liked them. They're very easy to follow. They have lots of little bubble things to look at. And I quit using them only because I decided I was going to make my own little presentations. So those of you who have had to sit through having me, I know that you've seen many of those presentations, probably more than you would like to. But I decided I was going to make my own, that I wasn't quite happy with what Andy had, and I didn't want students to have to buy another book. So I decided I was going to make my own presentations about it. But I got a lot of my ideas for the way I wanted to do mine from these people, from Morgan and Leach, and the authors are mixed up depending on which book it was, but it's all basically the same. And they go into the intermediate statistics, one goes into like discriminant analysis and factor analysis and some of the more advanced techniques, and it shows you It shows you how to do it in SPSS, how, the commands you use, but there's also like output that they've annotated to show you this is what this means, here's where you look for this, and that's really, because you know SPSS just spits out all this garbage, and some of it you don't ever even need to look at. I don't know why it's in there, and then some of it's really meaningful, and when you first look at it and you're not used to it, it's really hard to figure out what do I need to be paying attention to. So both of those books are very good about showing you where you need to go. The other book that I've taught with is the SPSS Survival Manual by Julie Pallant, and she does the same thing. I don't think she's quite as clear about the outputs as the Morgan and Leach guys, but she's really good. And they used to use that book a lot in the counseling department. So that's where I first got it, from them. So any questions about books about SPSS?
Yeah, the survival manual. I second you. It's a really good one.
You like it?
I really like it. If you're doing your dissertation and having trouble doing APA styles with respect to outputs, it makes sense what SPSS turns out into. So
yes,
it helps
yes, and both of these, all three of these books, they not only do they show you what the SPSS means, but they'll write it up. They'll write up the results and say, if you were going to write the results for this analysis we just ran, here's what it would look like. Now, it doesn't always exactly match APA style, but it's close enough. I mean, it gives you a start to think, well, how am I going to write this? Because, as you know, it's not enough to just run the analysis. You've got to write about it too. So all of those books are really helpful. Andy does the same thing. He's got a section in each chapter about how do you go about writing up the results, what numbers do you need to put in, and all those things. So those are all really helpful. All of them. Okay, so then I started thinking about, those are the books that I go to. Those are my favorite books that I find useful for students and for me. So then I started thinking about websites that I look at. Andy has a website that goes along with his book, and there are videos on there. There's some things that will show you how to do it on SPSS, but what I like in his on his website are, sometimes he has like the lectures that like they videotaped his lectures at where, I can't remember where he teaches, but some of them get a little bit long-winded, and I'm like, okay, come on, Andy, wrap it up. But they're funny and they're interesting to watch. But he also has ones that are more specific to a certain topic, and so it's not just like a lecture of a chapter, but it's about one certain thing. And if you like Andy, then you'll kind of enjoy it. It's fun to get to listen to him talk. There are several places that have like what am I trying to say? Electronic textbooks. So it's like the textbook, and it's just websites with chapters and things like that. Two of them that I really like, StatSoft is one, and it takes you from very, very basic analyses all the way through really complicated stuff that I have no idea what that stuff is. Dell bought the site, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, and they've done some really good upgrades to it. So it's pretty usable. Occasionally there are some videos to watch embedded in it, but mostly it's just like a good reference book. And if you want a copy of the whole book, you can buy it on Amazon for $80. So, they refer you to it. But it has a lot of topics, and it's real easy to go through it. Over on the side, it has all the topics, and when you click on it, it's really good information. I get a lot out of that. Khan Academy it's a website that's really devoted to math. All kinds of things about math, and probably geared to maybe high school students, but there's one of their sections that's on probability and statistics, and they're very good videos. They don't get into the really complicated statistical procedures, but if you're just needing some good review for the basic things, more than mean, median, mode, like maybe through t-tests, through ANOVAs, maybe two-way ANOVA even, and very good explanation. The guy has a great voice. It's real easy to listen to him. It's not boring. They have good, slides going in the background. Lots and lots of good information. So that's a good one. Vassar Stats has a good website, and that's from Vassar, from the college. They have a lot of interesting little calculators that do things that are kind of fun to mess with. But the best part is they have a statistics textbook online, and it's called Concepts and Applications of Inferential Statistics. And it covers from the basics all the way through like one-way ANOVA, two-way ANOVA, and through ANCOVA. Again, it doesn't get into the more complicated ones, but if you're just needing a good review, or if you're taking the intro course or even the intermediate course, they're good to just hear somebody else's explanation of it. And then the Institute for Digital Research and Education, that's out of UCLA, and they have a lot of really good examples of different kinds of analyses. And they have them not only in SPSS, but R. Are y'all familiar with R? R is another stats program like SPSS, although, and R is what the cool statisticians use, because they think that SPSS and its baby pull-down menus are baby stuff. So the problem with R is you have to write all your own syntax. So there's lots and lots of videos out there on YouTube about doing things in R. What Andy has a whole book where it's not about IBM SPSS, it's about R. It tells you how to go through all that. So R is just another program, and if you're interested in that, if you're good with computers and you know a little bit about programming languages, then a lot of people think that R can do things that SPSS can't. And the good thing about it is that SPSS actually has an R plugin, so you can download some software from SPSS, from IBM. They currently own SPSS. You can download this R plugin from SPSS, get it on your computer, and then you can run R programs through SPSS. But again, the thing about R is you've got to type all your own syntax. You really have to know how to program. I looked at it and I thought, yeah, that's pretty cool, but why would you want to do all that when SPSS will just let you do it through pull-down menus? Now, back in my day, when I was in school, when I had to walk 10 miles uphill to and from school, all that. But anyway, when I was in school working on my degree, we had SPSS, but we didn't have those pull-down menus. We had to type in all our own syntax. And it was hard. And I'm going to tell you that there were times that I sat in the lab and cried because it wouldn't work and I didn't know what to do. And there wasn't anybody to help me. And, y'all feel sorry for me, right? Okay, good. So really you have it easy now with SPSS. But there are things that, have you all ever gone to the syntax section in SPSS where you have to type in your own syntax? Well, you might have to do it sometime, and it's really not so terrible. And now it will tell you where your mistake is. It'll tell you it's on line 17, you didn't put a parentheses in or something. It's not very forgiving. So, but it's much easier now than it used to be. So anyway, R is another. So the UCLA website has a lot of stuff about R if you're into that. It has textbooks that are for loan. It has a bunch of papers you can read that different people have written. It has some really interesting things about different analyses that you don't see talked about a lot. Discrete time survival analysis, which is what I did my dissertation on. And they have a lot of interesting information there. So that's a website I go to when I want examples. They have SPSS output, and it's not as clear. They don't annotate it quite as well as some of these books do, but they still get into a lot of really interesting stuff depending on what you're trying to do. Okay. Then there are a couple of websites that I use a lot for SPSS. The first one is called How To Stats, and they have just about everything that you could ever want from SPSS. And they're YouTube videos, and the guy speaks very nicely. You can understand what he's saying. He's not funny, but he follows along with SPSS, and you can see what they're doing, and he shows you just about everything, how to run it, and then he gets the output up there, and he says, this is what this means. He goes over every little thing, and it's really helpful. I mean, they have some of the more advanced techniques like logistic regression and discriminant analysis and things that you don't come across all the time in some of the other YouTube videos. I mean, you can put in anything in Google and tell it you want it to be a video, and it will, if you're looking for something on confidence intervals, there'll be 50 things to choose from, because everybody's getting their videos out there. But for something that's really reliable, that you know that they're doing a good job, I've watched them, and I haven't found anything that I disagreed with. And I have to say that sometimes I disagree with the way people do things. Statistics is, some of my friends that do a lot of qualitative analysis, they try to argue with me that quantitative analysis is so black and white and qualitative is so different because you have the whole box of crayons to choose from. But that's not really true, because in statistics there are things you can do wrong, but there are so many different ways you can analyze a set of data. It depends on what your question is and what you're really trying to get at, and how deeply you want to dig into the data, and how proficient you are, of course, too, because there are some things that are hard, I mean, occasionally a student brings me something, I look at it and I say, yep, we need to do a cluster analysis on this. And they're like, well, how do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, but we'll look it up in a book and we'll figure it out, So it may be something that you need to, I'm going to digress for just a minute, because I know you all know this, but you ask your research question, then you find the statistic that matches it, not the other way around. You don't ever say, well, I know how to do a one-way ANOVA, so I'm going to make sure my question can be answered that way. And there are people who do that. So we're all sitting here laughing, but there are people who do that. So you want to be sure you're not one of those people. But anyway, so there's always more than one way to skin a cat, but I like how-to statistics. I agree with those people, and I think that it's almost always the same gentleman who's doing the speaking, and I think he does a really nice job. So you can see there's lots of different, there's just all kinds of different topics that they go over. SPSS Video Tutor is another one. You have to set up an account where you log in, you have a username and an ID, but it's free. You don't have to pay anything for it. And there are lots of different videos that you can choose from about all kinds of different analyses, and I think that they do a really good job. There are other services that this website offers that you do have to pay for, so be sure you're not signing up for them to analyze your data for you, because that's not what you need. But so you just sort of have to watch. But the videos, just to watch the videos, it's free. So those are good websites. And Amber was telling me about another one. What's the other one?
Statsguy.com.
Statsguy.com. So tell us about statsguy.com.
I found him on YouTube. He does videos for AP statistics, and he tries to be very energetic. He uses a lot of fun examples, and he really breaks it down and explains where the formulas come from. Not just this is how you do it, but why you're using that particular formula and how it comes out.
Yeah, that's good. Because AP Statistics, that's a great place to, to back out. The problem I personally have with AP Statistics is it's about math. And I have a weakness there. And so sometimes I get caught up in, well, I don't understand, and I just want to turn it off. But if somebody, takes it down low enough for me, it is interesting to see where those numbers come from and why you do the things you do. So that's really great. Does somebody else have websites or books that they want to recommend that we can? No? Okay. I brought a little card, if anybody wants, pass those around, Angie. The other thing I wanted to tell you about is our Office of Research, and generally we don't get a lot of students from psychology, but that's no reason why you can't think about our services. I'm the statistics advisor, and so what I usually do is I help students, if they need help coming up with their research questions or what kind of methodology works best to answer their questions. And I'm available. On there is my phone number and email addresses, and I'm certainly available to meet with people. I helped Angie work on her data a little bit, so.
A little bit.
Okay, some, a little. But, I'm happy to just sit right down there beside you while you run SPSS and walk you through it if that makes you nervous to have to do that. I do that with lots of people, and I think it's fun. I like to see people's faces when either their data shows some significance or no significance, because that's just as important for it not to be significant. And then other things in our office, and I know that those of you in psychology have advisors that have more experience designing research than some of the professors that, say, might be over in the education department. So your professors and advisors probably don't need quite as much assistance with it. But if you need help with your research design, we have people that are available to do that. Dr. Henley works with us part-time, and so he's over there to help with research design. We also have some students that do APA editing. Hodge and Patrick and Rita help do APA editing. So, and that's free. That doesn't cost anything. Now, they don't fix it for you, but they'll show you where the problem is and tell you what needs to be done. So if you're not the world's best typist, or do you want to be a spokesperson for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been great. I sent it to them before I proposed, and they, I think Patrick Wahaj was not working at the time, but Patrick went through every little thing. I mean, he looked at my references. Everything to make sure that it was all APA. And now they have it after I've defended, and they're working on the final. So it's awesome.
I mean, that's a service that generally you have to pay someone to do. So it's really nice, and you can just email your document. The email address is on there. The what is it?
EHS.
Yeah, review. Yes, COEHS review, and that goes to our administrative assistant Janice, and then she farms it out to whoever needs it. If you just say, can somebody look at my methodology, or I need APA editing, and that's a free service, and it's really nice that we have that available at this university. Sometimes I tell people at other universities what I do, and they're like, wow, I wish we had that. I wish I'd had that when I was a student, because we certainly didn't have anyone to do that. So that's all that I came with today. Does anybody have questions, or is there anything else that I could help you with or refer you to? If you have a specific topic that you'd like some information on, you've got my phone number and email address there, and I would be happy to help you find some information if you have a specific thing that you're looking for.
Would you mind us putting this?
No, you can.
on
That's
our
fine.
website?
I was
Sure.
about to ask the same
Sure.
thing.
Yes, you can. Definitely.
All of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Because
Oh,
it
yeah.
has the
The cell
cell and the
That's
phone.
fine, yes.
So if I'm having a hard time on my homework this weekend.
No, I don't help with homework. You can call Dr. Pinto if you're having trouble with your homework. I'm just kidding. No, when you're getting ready to design your proposal or your thesis or your dissertation, whatever you're doing, if you have an issue and you want to talk about it with somebody, that's what we're there for. We're there to help. So at any time that you need help with that process, the thesis or dissertation process, we are there to help. But yes, this is the card I give out to everyone. So it's fine. It's fine to give the phone numbers and email.
And is this just for graduate students and doctoral students, or is it undergrads? So.
Currently, we're not working with undergrads,
Okay.
just thesis and dissertation.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do work with faculty some too, if they want help, but you don't have to worry about that. But.
So not with the Honors College.
You don't work with Honors College?
You know, I think they have done some work with the Honors College students. I do think that, and I've done some work with some of the nursing, of course they're part of the college, but I've worked with some of the nursing students too. So I think some of the honors students have come through.
Because they
They
have
do.
to work on a
They do.
thesis.
Right, because they have to do one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Other questions? Okay.
Well, we would like to thank you for coming and presenting this wonderful information to us. I know I'll be using it. Are there any more questions, comments?
Thank you for the good information.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Alright.
Okay. I would also like to remind you that we do have a December meeting for people who are planning on taking the comps or licensure or any form of formal testing. We will be having different colleges come in and speak about the formal comps and comprehensive exams and everything that we're going through in December. So please be looking for the flyers, the informational posters that we're putting out all over, not just within Henderson and Binion, but we're trying to expand to the Ferguson building, because now psychology and special education and counseling classes are everywhere. So please be looking for those, and our emails from MainSync and any updates that we have going out. Okay, thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you.
Sure.